You good?
Yeah, is this supposed to look like this? It's okay?
Oh, there's no way to fix it, but if you
Yeah, just so hit the same button.
just hit it, it'll work.
Yeah. All right, what's up? What's happening, everybody? Welcome into episode 1 of Fast 5 Sports in the year 2025. I'm Matt Infield. That is our digital king, Jacob Gallant. Griffin Debray is off today. Well-deserved day off. He's come back from vacation, working a lot of crazy days, so Griffin is not joining us today. It's just Jacob and I. And Jacob, we are coming here today, less than 24 hours removed from the Memphis Tigers basketball team, going to Boca Raton and just putting, as Doc Holliday put it last night, belt to booty on FAU. Just an absolute beatdown of the Owls at the conference opener, 90-62, in a game where they start out a 9-0 run and really never let FAU just get any sort of control of this game whatsoever. Never really gave them any hope that they had a chance to win. Just an utterly dominant performance from start to finish. Tyrese Hunter, 20 points. PJ Haggerty is 19. Dave Deja, who at halftime had no points and a bunch of fouls, finished the game with 16 off the bench. And, just a continuation of a really awesome 7-day stretch for Memphis. Think about last Saturday at home when they just thoroughly dominated. Then number 16, Ole Miss, 87-70. And I think the question that everyone was asking, especially after the way last year went, was would things be different in conference play this year? Just given the fact last year's team, think about it, really good in non-conference play against all these big-name schools. Fell apart in conference play, didn't take them seriously enough. Well, if last night's any indication, this year's team, the mentality is way different, the approach is way different, and if they play like that, then we're talking about a really scary team come March.
Yeah, it took it very seriously, especially winning the second half by 18 points.
Yeah.
Good scoring distribution. I really like Dane Danger off the bench.
I like Dane when Dane plays under control, because sometimes I've noticed Dane can take some kind of wild shots going one-on-one, which Dane can score one-on-one with anybody. And then I think it's a very small beef. But my biggest beef with the team this year is it's mainly Dane and Musa Cisse. Probably get themselves into foul trouble too often when the Tigers don't really have the front court depth to withstand either one of them fouling out. But yeah, I mean, he's a heck of a player off the bench for sure.
Yeah. We talked about last time how they would rebound off the Mississippi State loss, and then two big thumbs up since then, back into the top 25. All signs pointing upwards right now.
Yeah, I think it was interesting to hear Petty talk after the Ole Miss win last week about how, and he told us some of this when we taped the Petty Hardaway show this past Monday, myself and Dave Woloshin, how after Mississippi State lost, he was just simmering for days, and then he got the team back together Christmas night and basically brought back what he called an old school practice where they were just running, and it's got to get the point across, are we going to take this seriously, or are we going to show up to games not bringing the energy that we need? And, in the 2 games since then, they've come out of the gates firing, and they've just taken care of business right off the bat and not let off the gas. And, last year, I will say, it's tough to get a full gauge on how conference play would have gone last year just because the injury that really changed everything for them last year when Caleb Mills suffered that really nasty knee injury that happened in the conference opener at Tulsa. And I think it's reasonable to say they should have figured out a way to overcome that injury, but what Petty has said over and over again is that necessitated a change in style where they were playing small and they had to go big after he was hurt to where couldn't really get a read on them the rest of the way. But the only team that could stop this team in conference play is themselves. If they show up with the correct intentions and energy and all that stuff and play their brand of basketball to the best of their abilities or something close to it, there should be a lot of games in conference play that look like this. And I think it's been brought up that, now that non-conference is over, it's kind of tough for them to really bolster their resume in terms of seeding for the tournament. And, we've had this discussion before about, you win these conference games in the American, it's just like, okay, you're just checking a box. You're just passing a test. You're doing what you're supposed to do and nothing more. And if you lose, the sky's crashing down and, your tournament hopes are in trouble. The one way you can boost your seeding and your resume for the NCAA tournament, especially some of the metric-based stuff, the net, what's the other one, Bart Tovek or whatever. I give a little bit of credence to this stuff, not too much. But the one way you can boost your resume when it comes to stuff is by blowing these teams out of the water.
Yep.
You go on the road and beat FAU by 28. It doesn't matter how. And I don't think FAU is that bad, although that fairy tale run for the last couple of years is over, so I hope they enjoyed that while it lasted. But you go on the road and beat them by 28. Yeah, like that's going to be a boost for your seeding in the tournament. Now, I think the question for me going to this weekend in the conference home opener against North Texas is, FAU was a game where it was kind of easy to get up for, because even if Dusty May is gone and the majority of the players from that team the last few years have either moved on or went to Michigan with him, it's still the name, it's still the program that knocked you out of the NCAA tournament a couple years ago. It's been a rivalry, it's a short-lived rivalry, but a rivalry the last couple years in the AAC. So that's an easy game to get up for off brand recognition and previous history alone. Are you going to be up for North Texas at FedEx Forum on Sunday? It's a home game, you should be, but then again, you should have been up for a home game against Mississippi State a couple Saturdays ago. So hopefully the lesson's been learned there. But yeah, if they bring the fire, they should, in theory, they should win out in conference play. Mm-hmm. They should run the table. Is it going to work out like that? Probably not. But they could. And they are more than talented enough, and I think, importantly, cohesive enough that they could run the table in conference play if they want to. Inevitably, a slip-up is going to happen, I think. But, yeah, their own worst enemy potentially is themselves. If they can stay out of their own way, they are going to dominate this conference.
Yeah, if you shoot 56% from the field, you're probably going to win all.
Well, it's just like it was great on both sides, too, because they got basically whatever they wanted on offense at all three levels, and defensively, they just kind of made life miserable for them. And that's really, I think, we talked about it at the beginning of the season, but the defensive identity of the team keeps showing up, and they bring the intensity every single night. And if you could do that, that travels. That can keep you in games where maybe you're not having your best offensive performance, and on nights where you're shooting the lights out of the ball and you're bringing the defensive energy, that's when you win by 28 on the road. Do we have an upcoming schedule?
Sure do.
Let's take a look at it real quick. Now, North Texas on Sunday. Now, I'm not going to lie. They might be starting out conference play with their two toughest games right off the bat. On the road at FAU, and North Texas, it's not great, but they're probably the best of the rest in the AAC this year. It honestly probably would have been nice to get them on the road, because that would have been better for your metrics and the quad wins and whatnot. So I think FAU last night was a quad 2 win, if I'm not mistaken. And that can change as the season goes on as well. But yeah, and then after that, listen, it's going to be human nature. It's going to be tough to get up for home against East Carolina and on the road at Temple and Charlotte and home against Wichita State. You got to win these games, though, because like we talked about, and we saw it last year, if you start losing these games, that's when your NCAA tournament bid falls into the real peril. Because really, if they don't screw around and if they show up to play, they should probably have an NCAA tournament bid essentially locked up going into the conference tournament. And then they could just kind of put the finishing touches on that resume at the conference tournament, hopefully win that. So, yeah, but really, really good last 7 days for the Tigers. Obviously, you knock off an SEC opponent that was ranked at the time, still ranked actually, at home, and it just throttled your rival last couple of years in the conference opener. So, good stuff all the way around there. For the Tigers, let's talk Grizzlies, who been an interesting start to this road trip so far, but really positive New Year's Eve night. No John Morant, no Zach Edey, bunch of other guys hurt. No Santi Aldama, Marcus Smart, and then, the Vince Williams, Gigi Jacksons. And you're going into a place against a team where when they've had their stars this year, mainly Kevin Durant, and they had Devin Booker back for that game, they've been tough to beat. But I'll tell you, Ben, Jaren Jackson Jr. is a different beast this year. 38 points, just absolutely dominated that game. And to all the people on social media that, probably 3 weeks ago were saying, trade Desmond Bane, or Desmond Bane is washed, or whatever. You idiots. You idiots. This guy's played like an all-star for 3+ years. When a guy of that caliber goes through a bit of a slump for, 20 games, if that, assume he's going to break out of it. Desmond Bane has been too good of a player for, at this point, a large enough sample in this league to think that he just forgot how to play basketball. And to be honest, there's also no reason to think that the style that this team is playing now offensively wasn't going to fit him. I think it fits him perfectly. He was just in a bit of a shooting slump, but he is an elite shooter, an elite worker, takes his craft very seriously. He had 31 in that game. And, like I said, without Ja, without a bunch of other guys, the two other main stars step up, combine for 69 points. And you get what I think is a really good road win against a team that, like I said, when they've had Kevin Durant, that must be said, Devin Booker was awful in that game. Really bad. So that probably helped. But part of that was also probably the Grizzlies' defense as well. But, yeah, I think that's a good win. And now you set yourself up for the last 2 games of this road trip starting tonight in Sacramento against a Kings team that is in a bit of peril right now after – was it last week we were talking about Mike Brown or 2 weeks ago? I forgot. We were talking about the Kings in peril.
Right after the show.
That was right after the show last week. They fired Mike Brown.
Immediately after the show.
Kind of wild to me. Although, I have a friend who's a diehard Kings fan who says it was the right move. So we'll see.
I will say, I mean, they have won their last 2 games. Against Dallas and Philadelphia, so not easy wins.
Yeah, the inter-coach bump can be a thing, though. I don't know if it's the right move.
De'Aaron Fox is playing kind of out of his mind right now, too.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, we'll see. I think it's a bit of a clunky roster. I think we talked about DeRozan doesn't really fit with what they're trying to do. So, yeah, I don't know. Things change quickly. That guy was coach of the year less than 24 months ago. Just my 2 cents. But go to Sacramento tonight. Interesting news, actually, I just saw from Mike Wallace of Grind City Media, the guru of Grind City Media, as they call him. He's with the Grizzlies. So Zach Edey has been out since last Friday in New Orleans with a concussion. Turns out it wasn't a concussion. He had a complex migraine that gave him concussion symptoms.
Interesting.
So probably a good thing because you want less concussions on your checkbox, I guess, however you want to put it. You want less concussion on your brain. Now, if he has a migraine problem, it's probably not great. I don't know if he does have a migraine problem or not, but something to keep in mind down the road. But so he is questionable for tonight. So, and I think that they're getting. Brandon Clark is listed as questionable. Again, Twitter doctor said he was going to be out 3 months. This is why you don't listen to Twitter doctors, unless they're actual doctors that have to be on Twitter. Could get him back. I saw Jake LaRavia is questionable, so they should have some reinforcements tonight. And you think about it now, this road trip that looked really daunting before it started. Obviously, you got blown out in OKC without Ja on Sunday. Probably not zero chance. I mean, if you go 3-2 on this road trip, you take it any day of the week. And then they go to Golden State tomorrow night. Now, the Warriors put the beat down on the 76ers last night. Steph Curry was out of his mind shooting the ball. 8 of 8 from 3. I mean, just full flame.
He can still pull that off any night.
Oh, I mean,
you never know when it's coming.
The Warriors have problems. I don't think Steph Curry is one of them.
No.
He's still an elite player.
Maybe a Jimmy Butler solution?
I will say, once again, I've repeated it many, many times. Jimmy Butler, big time impact on winning, huge playoff riser. Do not like him for the Grizzlies. And that situation in Miami right now is very messy. So if we could take a look at the Grizz schedule real quick, and then we'll keep it moving on to our next segment. Yeah, finish up this road trip at Sacramento tonight. I mean, it is a tough back-to-back. I mean, I guess it is all Northern California, but still, you're playing back-to-back nights. And the Warriors have tonight off after beating the 76ers last night. And then home on Monday, and then they have a week off, which is interesting. I just realized that.
Oh, yeah.
But home on Monday against the Mavericks, who are going to be without Luka Doncic because he has that calf injury that's going to keep him out for an extended period of time. And
they're on a 3-game losing streak without him as well right now.
You know what? I hate to correct you. They do not have a week off. They are home next Thursday against the Rockets.
And then mess something up.
It's all good. It's all good. I think this is the first scheduling gaffe we've had. They do play the Rockets next Thursday. It is at home. And then they travel to Minnesota to take on your Timberwolves next Saturday. So
I see where I went wrong.
Yeah, it's all right. It's all right.
The Houston game is happening. I just skipped.
Houston, yeah. Houston game's going to be fun, though.
I skipped to the next Houston game. Houston's really looking good this year.
They're kind of in a – they're not OKC, but awesome defensively and have enough guys offensively as well.
They just have so many guys that they could throw at anybody as like an elite defender.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy.
I think we talked about – before season, I was like, it feels kind of logjam there, and like they have too many guys at similar spots, but – hey, it's working for them right now. And they're not even playing the number 3 overall pick of Reed Shepherd. He's like literally just a non-factor. And listen, again, we know what happened with Ime Udoka. In Boston, the guy coaches his ass off. There's no doubt about that. And he's showing it once again.
It's working.
All right, let's hit a quick break. Hey, you got to tell me which button do I hit here? Because the buttons are
bottom right.
Bottom right. All right, we'll be right back in 30 seconds, I believe.
Go fast, keep going. 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 Go fast.
All right, welcome back to the Fast Five Sports. I'm Matt Enfield. This is Jacob Galat. Let's talk some football. Last night, well, there's a lot going on in the football world yesterday. College football playoff. We'll hit on that in just a second. But let's talk about Mid-South team first and foremost, because Ole Miss, obviously disappointed for them to not be in the college football playoff. I think they took some of that frustration and anger out on the Duke Blue Devils last night in the Tax Slayer Gator Bowl in Jacksonville. Just another beatdown, 52-20. Jackson Dart over 400 yards, 4 touchdowns in his last game as a Rebel. Put on a really good showing for potential NFL scouts and teams that could be interested in drafting him in a couple of months. For any thought of, this team was going to be uninterested and not motivated because they didn't make the playoff. Nah, they were ready to play, start to finish. Just clearly two different caliber of teams. Duke honestly did not, with all the respect to them, I know they had a solid year, did not belong on the same field as Ole Miss.
Going into this game, I'll be honest, I had no idea they won 9 games this year. I think that was way under the radar.
Because they're in the ACC. That's
and they're unranked too.
But Ole Miss clearly the far superior team.
They really took their anger out on the ACC teams this year.
Yeah, and not even at full strength either. I think I said this on Twitter last night. The tough pill to swallow for Ole Miss is you can't tell me that's not one of the 12 best teams in the country. You also can't tell me that if they found their way into the college football playoff, there's a non-zero chance they'd still be standing right now as one of the Final Four teams left. They were good enough to be that.
Yeah.
Could have been. Shot themselves
especially with some of the performances we've seen in the playoffs already.
Yeah, and the way some of the things that fall, you think about Georgia losing Carson Beck. We'll hit on that game in a second. But, kind of a wide open field that if they got in, I think they could still be alive right now going into the semifinals. So, tough pill to swallow. Obviously, moving off from Jackson Dart next year, losing Trey Harris to the NFL draft. So, it's going to be Walter Nola, defensive lineman who's originally from Memphis. It's going to be a new-look team next year, but I don't know if Lane still goes by Portal King or not, but I imagine he'll have another pretty loaded roster next season as well. So we'll see. But I would say overall, good year for them. Also probably a little bit short of expectations, just given the fact that a lot of people thought this could have been the best season in program history, and it was undone because you lost at home to Kentucky as 15.5-point favorites, and then in a game that essentially would have sealed your college football playoff berth, you lose at the Swamp. I don't even think that loss is that bad because Florida played a lot better at the end of the year, and obviously we saw what DJ Lagway could do. It's just that it was literally you win that game and you're good.
Yep.
You don't even have to go play in the SEC championship game. Win that game and you're in, and the bullet is what it is. So, but the Rebels do pick up their 10th win. I think first time since 1959, 1960 they've won double-digit games in back-to-back seasons. So,
wow.
Yeah. Listen, great time for Ole Miss football right now. It's just I think that the fans are yearning for them to get over that hump a little bit and get to the playoffs. So we'll see about next year. You wanted to mention the Duke's Mayo Bowl, going from Duke to Duke's. The Duke's Mayo Bowl is tonight.
It's just important because we're going to get to see a coach with mayonnaise
breath.
dumped on his head.
Dude, if I was a coach in that game, I cannot tell you. I would want to win the game. I cannot tell you how fast I would run from everything at the end of the game.
You wouldn't go for the big hat like a couple of years ago, the enormous hat that just kind of blocked everything?
My opinion on mayonnaise is gross. Like growing up, I hated mayonnaise on basically anything. Now, on like a burger, with like a little ketchup mixed in, I'm good with it. I don't despise it like I used to, but like a whole tub of mayonnaise dumped on me. Much rather be Ryan Silverfield, who got 5 gallons of iced coffee dumped on him. That I could probably get down with, even though you'd stink for days afterwards. So, who's it? Minnesota and Virginia Tech?
Yeah. I feel like PJ Fleck is enough of a psycho to be like, yeah, dump all that.
Yeah, honestly, he's the perfect guy for it if they win. So, that's that. All right, let's hit college football playoffs real quick. Kind of talked about it already, but our Final Four is set. Penn State, there after taking down Boise State on New Year's Eve. Pretty straightforward win, although Boise made it a little bit interesting there at the end. Notre Dame beating a Georgia team without their starting quarterback in the Sugar Bowl that was delayed a day by the terrorist attack in New Orleans on New Year's Day. And send our condolences to everyone affected by that. It's a really terrible situation there. But Notre Dame wins the day-delayed Sugar Bowl over Georgia. Ohio State, dominant performance over Oregon. Making up for that loss to the Ducks in Eugene earlier in the season. And Texas takes down Arizona State in what was, I think, without question, the best game of the playoffs so far. It's an absolute thriller. So now we have our Final Four. And this is where I'm at. For all the complaining about teams don't deserve to be there, and, which, by the way, I did say it was hilarious that the team everyone universally thought deserved to be there more than anyone else, which was Oregon, got the break speed off them by Ohio State. And we're down, 31-0 in the first half. So, yes, this is what happens in playoffs. Teams get blown out. Teams that are favorites lay an egg, give everyone a chance, and see what happens. And has every game been a classic? No. But you know what? Did Boise State look like they belonged on the same field as Penn State? Yeah, I'd say so. Notre Dame and Georgia, again, kind of skewed because, again, I'm far from a big Carson Beck fan, but obviously, that game would have looked a little bit different with him. Obviously, those two teams were, I think, pretty close overall, although Notre Dame played a really good game yesterday. Arizona State clearly deserved to be on the same field as Texas.
Surprisingly, yeah.
And Oregon was the team out of all of them that looked like they did not deserve to be in that game. So, this is what happens. Congratulations. College football playoffs have become like the playoffs in every other league, where upsets happen, teams get demolished, and in the end, we're sitting here with 4 teams left, and I don't think there's a way we say that one of these 4 teams is not a deserving national champion.
And the bye week's not always a good thing.
No.
See it in the NFL all the time where teams come off that bye and they just look rusty.
Yep.
And it kind of happened to this week. All 4 teams that had a bye.
Yep. Penn State, Notre Dame, Ohio State, and Texas all played on the first weekend, and they're the last 4 teams standing. So I think we are. Man, I don't know who's going to win these games, honestly. I think I've got Penn State because I do not believe in Riley Leonard at all, like whatsoever.
Okay.
Their defense is good. They have a really good. That's a heck of a running back matchup, too. Jeremiah Love and Nick Singleton. Listen, if Ohio State, and I know this has been repeated a bunch of times, Ohio State plays like that, no one's beating them.
Yeah.
Ohio State plays the way they did against Oregon. They're winning the national championship. And they have, I think, they probably have 4 of the best weapons left. I'm not going to say they have the 4 best skill position players left, because I think Nick Singleton on Penn State and Jeremiah Love on Notre Dame are very good. But, brother, Jeremiah Smith is real deal Holyfield. I mean, when you're talking about a true freshman wide receiver who's putting up those numbers in a college football playoff game, and basically every draft analyst, reputable draft analyst out there, is saying if he was draft eligible this year as a true freshman, he would be the number 1 overall pick as a wide receiver. That should tell you a lot. And that's not even counting Emeka Ebuka and then Quinshon Judkins and Trayon Henderson out of the backfield. I mean, they are loaded. Obviously, games are won and lost in the trenches and with quarterback play a lot of time, but think they have to be the favorites. Especially if they play the way anywhere close to what they did against Oregon.
Yeah, I think Ohio State's got to be just off of pure momentum.
I'm not discounting Texas. I just don't like Quinn Ewers that much. That's all. Although he made some big plays there. I'll give him that.
He made the play when it counted.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think the winner of Ohio State Texas has taken it.
I could see that too. So you think that's the real national championship game in effect?
I think so. I think those are probably the best 2 teams left. I have some doubts about James Franklin's ability to finish it off, but Yeah, I mean, it's Ohio State's to lose right
Yeah,
now.
I'd agree with that.
But, Texas has surprised us a few times this year. So
Big shout out to Cam Scattaboo on Arizona State because, man, he got that dog in him. I'm sitting there the other day, dude, the touchdown pass, and it just refused to go down. He's throwing up on the sidelines. I don't care what he tests at the combine, anything like that. That guy's an NFL player. Get him on a roster.
yeah, I recognized he was special. I think week 2 when they played Mississippi State.
That's
he
right.
Just ran all over them.
Yeah, that's right.
He's really good.
Man, shout out Kenny Dillingham, too, former Memphis assistant, because his stock could not be higher right now.
Yeah.
It's tough to say he's definitely going to get back there, but it feels like they've got a good thing going there. So, yep, last 4 teams standing. Thursday is the Orange Bowl. Friday, Cotton Bowl a week from today. And then we'll have our last 2 teams standing for the national championship game. All right, week 18 of the NFL season. We'll roll through this real quick. So Saquon Barkley, 101 yards shy of Eric Dickerson's all-time single-season record. Will not get it because he will sit.
I don't like it.
I don't love it, but I will say probably the best point that was made about this is, and it's something I didn't even think about, but Jeff Schwartz, who's a former offensive lineman, now works for Fox Sports, I believe, he brought up the point. If you start Saquon, you have to start the entire starting offensive line as well. Eagles have a bunch of older guys on the offensive line. And that's where I'm like, okay, that makes sense. Especially because, again, it's not like they're a team that, okay, we'll get in, maybe we have a chance, or, like, they could very easily come out of the NFC. And I get it. The record would be awesome. By the way, even though it would be in 17 games, Eric Dickerson did in 16, Saquon's got like 34 fewer carries than Dickerson.
Right.
So,
if he got a big workload, it would have been basically the same.
And I'll just tell you right now, if Saquon Barkley got 34 carries on the Giants' run defense on Sunday, he would shatter that record.
Exactly.
Absolutely shatter that record. So that's that. But here's the thing. If he gets hurt going for this record, and if he gets hurt, or if the Eagles don't have Saquon Barkley for the playoffs, they're not winning the Super Bowl. So
No, of course not.
So
especially, I haven't heard any long-term status about Hurts. I know he's not playing this week.
he's still in protocol, which at least makes next week interesting because they also, I don't think, are winning a playoff game, even if it's looked all right the last couple weeks. I don't think they're winning a playoff game with Kenny Pickett or Tanner McKee starting at quarterback. So, yeah, that's going to be something interesting to keep an eye on. But, yeah, kind of sick to see him not go for it, but I understand the logic at the same time. Best game of the week? Best game of the season, probably. Game 272, which you can watch right here on Action 5 Sunday night. Sunday Night Football. Vikings at the Lions for the 1 seed. It is kind of crazy to think that one of these teams is going to win 14 games and go on the road in round 1 of the playoffs.
Surely that's never happened, right?
Probably not.
I can't
imagine. I mean, just, again, an incredible gauntlet of a division the NFC North was. Because Packers have 12 wins?
Yes.
Or they have 11?
Or 11, yes.
They have 11, but they're probably going to pick up. They're playing the Bears on Sunday. I'll pencil them in for 12. This is an awesome game. The Lions, again, their defense with all these injuries. Can they keep up with the Vikings? Can they stop the Vikings? But again, this offense is a machine. You saw Ben Johnson just breaking out the bag of tricks on the 49ers on Monday night for a couple of Jameson Williams touchdowns. And they can score with anybody. But this Vikings team and the way they're clicking right now, the way Kevin O'Connell's dialing it up, Sam Darnold's playing really well. This kind of three-headed monster of pass-catching weapons, Jefferson, Addison, Hawkinson, plus Aaron Jones out of the backfield. I'll just say this. I'm going to take the Lions because they're home, and I think that their offense is basically unstoppable. Vikings win, I would not be surprised whatsoever.
I love what Brian Flores is doing for that defense, too. They sent a ton of pressure at the Packers last week, and they had them kind of in the blender for most of the first half. So, I wouldn't be shocked either if it was the Lions struggling to score on that defense just because they've looked so strong all year. But, I mean, that's the best game of the week.
Yeah, for sure. And again,
probably could have been an NFC Championship game.
Yeah, I think in theory it still could be. I guess it depends how the seeding works out, but I think it could be still. But yeah, like I said, Action 5 on Sunday night. And then last AFC wildcard spot is kind of up for grabs. To be honest, so it's between Denver, Miami, and Cincinnati, but the caveat is Broncos need to lose for Miami or Cincinnati to have a shot. The Broncos are playing the Chiefs, who are resting Patrick Mahomes and basically everyone relevant. And I think the Chiefs probably want the Broncos to win, because if it's not the Broncos, it's probably the Bengals. And in a one-game playoff, I do not want to play Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins right now. So I think it is going to work out so that the Broncos grab the last playoff spot, but we'll see.
Yeah, and Cincinnati would need Miami to lose as well, and they're against the Jets, respectfully.
Could be Aaron Rodgers' last game on Sunday, too. We'll see. I think definitely his last game as a Jet.
Yes, I don't think he's going to be done.
Yeah.
Though.
All right, let's finish this up with some quick trivia and get out of here.
Yeah, just two this week. So our playoff games this week are the Orange Bowl and the Cotton Bowl. So Notre Dame and Penn State are playing in the 92nd Orange Bowl. Can you name the 5 teams that have appeared in the Orange Bowl the most times? No real big surprises on the
Miami?
list. Yep. They've appeared 10 times.
Clemson? No, not Clemson. Alabama?
Alabama's on here.
Okay.
9.
Oklahoma?
Oklahoma's first with 20.
For whatever reason,
lot.
I associate Oklahoma with the Orange Bowl.
Yeah. They've been in 20 times.
Ohio State?
No.
Okay.
They did not make it.
Nebraska?
Nebraska, 17.
Nice, okay. So that's 4 out of 5?
Kind of cooking right now. You got 4 of them, yeah.
Texas?
No. This team is pretty close by.
Falls?
No. Closer.
Closer to that.
To the Orange Bowl.
Closer
to the Orange Bowl.
Gators?
No.
Florida State?
Yeah.
Okay.
Florida State 11 times. So Texas and Ohio State are playing in the 89th Cotton Bowl. You know, the 5 teams that have played in the Cotton Bowl the most times. There's one team that's on both of these.
Okay. Oklahoma?
Not Oklahoma.
Okay. Alabama?
Alabama's the one that's on both. They've
Okay.
played in 9 times.
Texas?
Yep. 22, which is kind of crazy.
Tracks. Okay. Cotton Bowl. What teams do I associate with the Cotton Bowl? USC?
Not USC.
No. Ohio State. No, wait. Ohio State was
No.
on the last one.
No, they weren't. They're not on either.
Oh, they're out.
There's 2 teams here that play in this stadium every year.
Oh, who plays it? Arkansas?
Arkansas and?
A&M.
Yep.
Okay. So that's 4.
13 and 12 times apiece.
It's 4 out of 5. Give me
And
one
then
small
The
clue.
other team is still in it.
The other team is still in it.
Yeah. One of the final 4 teams from this year.
I said Texas, right?
Yeah, Texas was on there.
Penn State?
No,
Notre Dame?
Notre Dame.
Really? Well, I think of Penn
8
State
times.
Cotton Bowl because they played Memphis Cotton Bowl in 2019.
Yep.
All right, that's that. All right, good first episode of 2025 in the books. We will be back next Friday. Probably a little bit longer episode. Your boy had a doctor appointment today, so we had to do a little abbreviated episode, but we're going to get out of here, let these guys take care of our 3:30 show. And, oh, by the way, Memphis Hoop Fest going down at Briarcrest tonight. I will be there. Highlights of all those games coming up on Act Choose 5 at 6 and 10. But for now, for Jake